The last week or the week before, I interviewed somebody named حمیدرضا ذاکری. After that, I saw you posted his video on your website.
Right.
Then, some people were attacking you. First of all, let me know how you know Mr. ذاکری, and is he somebody that you can trust? Did he help American government?
Yeah.
Give him some. Give me some information about him.
Yeah.
How you know him and what's going on.
Mr. ذاکری is an extraordinary person. He has risked his life, literally, and the life of his family, to help the United States of America and help the free world in general. He left Iran at great personal danger in July of 2001. I tell his story in my book, Countdown to Crisis, the coming showdown with Iran. And
this is the one you talked about.
Correct. So he left Iran 2.5 months, basically, before September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to meet with the United States government in a neighboring country, and he said, look, I have information, I believe that there's going to be a massive attack on the United States of America. It's going to be ordered by the Islamic Republic of Iran. I was at meetings, I've been present at meetings where these things were discussed.
Because he was top rank or whatever?
Because he was, no, not because he was top rank, but he was in the intelligence community, he was in counterintelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there actually handling security. He had access because he was handling security for meetings. Mm-hmm. He's never pretended to be a top guy. He was handling the security for meetings for top individuals in the regime. So he was there at some of these meetings in January of 2001, in May of 2001, when ذاکری came, when Saad bin Laden came to Iran to discuss the plot against the United States of America that later became the September 11th attacks. He was very concerned, and he left Iran, he went to the Americans, he brought this information to them, and they didn't believe him.
Wow.
They didn't believe him. He said that the attacks are going to be carried out on the 20th of Shahrivar. He said they will be carried out by Arabs, not Iranians, by Arabs, not Iranians. And he said they're going to be using commercial airplanes, and they're going to be attacking New York and Washington, D.C.
So precise, and still they didn't believe it?
Right. And the CIA man, they finally brought somebody who spoke Farsi, and he got out his calendar, right? He said, oh, the 20th, Beast of Shahrivar. And he said, oh, well, that's September 10th. Why don't you come back? Why don't you come back then, when you know the real story? And they sent him away. Here's the kicker, Mr. Sorby. Go back and look at your calendar. The 20th of Shahrivar, 1382, I think it was, is September 11th.
Yeah, because sometimes one day
it was September 11th, 2001. He had the day, he had the type of attack using commercial airplanes. He knew that it would be Arabs, not Iranians. All of the attackers were Arabs, all of them, without exception.
19 of them.
There was no American on board. There was nobody from Europe who was among the attackers. Nobody from Africa. They were all Arabs.
I'm sorry, you said not American on board. They were American on board.
Attackers. None of the attackers, right? They were all Arabs. 15 of the 19 were from Saudi Arabia, right? The others were from various places. One was from
Yemen.
One was from Yemen. I think one was from Lebanon. One was from the UAE, and I forget the other ones. But he had all of that information, and the Americans brushed it aside.
Even before him, someone else, notified Mr. Clinton and his administration. Am I right? Or
there have been many warnings coming in to the U.S. intelligence community from people who have defected from Iranian intelligence, and the U.S. government does not do a very good job at talking to these individuals. They have a hard time distinguishing between somebody who's real and somebody who's fabricating a story. And so they treat everybody like a fabricator.
Over here, I'd like to talk about fact robbery, if you don't mind.
Well, there's a good example. There's a good example.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Is there any organization, any branch in, American consulate or embassy or whatever that day, if I walk over there and say I have some information, the easiest is to test me with those lie detector or some other way of, that they know. Not torture me by...
Let me tell you, Mr. Sorby, my experience from talking to people in the intelligence community, okay, I'm an observer.
Yeah.
Right? I've never been in the intelligence community. I've only worked for the U.S. government for about a year when I was in Congress. Okay, this is the only time I've worked for the U.S. government as a salaried employee. But But I talked to a lot of people who are in government, and they have found that using the lie detector that you mentioned when you put it does not work very well with people from Iran.
And they can train to
It doesn't work very well for people from Cuba. Every single Cuban agent who's come to the United States, every single one, passed the lie detector test.
Why they were lying?
With no problem whatsoever. Every single Iranian who's come to the United States has failed.
Oh.
So, what does it mean? It means that the test doesn't necessarily...
No, it means we have to lie more, that we get used to it. That we are
it just has not worked very well.
Okay.
And it's not
to you,
very effective.
What Mr. ذاکری did was excellent job.
I think he's a hero. I think he's a hero, and I think he should be applauded. And I think people should really, it's very easy in an exile community. And that's what, Iranians in the United States are living in exile. And you've been away from your homeland, in many cases, for 33 years, 34 years. It's difficult. There's a lot of bitterness. There's a lot of despair. Many people don't think they will ever get home again. Or other people think, well, I have to make a deal with the regime so I can go back and get my property. It is a difficult situation.
And regime make deal with them.
And the regime is very, very active inside the exile community. They're probing at all times. They're trying to pit people against each other, to make people fight, to make people suspect one another. This is how they play the game. The Soviets did the same thing. The Soviet Union did the same thing. And they sent the KGB out into the exile community and the white Russian community. Well, the Iranian regime is doing the same thing. The Vevak was trained by KGB. They were trained by KGB. So they know these methods. So they will see that there's a legitimate defector who's out there, or a legitimate dissident, or a student leaders out there, and then they will send out somebody else to discredit them. So that's what you have, for example, I think, with Batavi and Fakhravar. Batavi is somebody who is a legitimate student leader. Everybody has seen his picture holding up the bloody shirt in 1999, Batavi. And then Fakhravar comes out and said, oh, I was a student leader in 1999. He was never a student leader in 1999. And everybody knows that. Everybody who was in jail with him knows that.
And what should we do as American congressmen, as American government? What should we do with them? How what's the process to go?
I think that we have a lot of improvements to make in the U.S. intelligence community, and those things are done quietly. They're done gradually, and I'm not going to talk about that process too openly here today. But I think, let me just put it this way: I think that we can improve the vetting process to make sure that we can tell the difference between the real defectors and the fake defectors.
All right.